Stavarang jangamang cheti dvividhang vapuruchyate stavaras tatra dehasyu sukshma gulmatatadayaha. Body is said to be of two kinds, stationary and mobile. There, the stationary are the bodies like those of creepers and bushes, which are too fixed to move. Andaja svedaja stadva dudbhidja idijangama. Though mobile are those born of eggs, of perspiration, and those that are born cleaving the soil. Yoni manye prapadyante shariratvaya dehinaha stanu manye nusamyanti yatha karma yatha shrutam. Some souls enter the female womb for embodiment. Others attain the state of the trees. All this happens according to their bad or good deeds done and according to their understanding. Sukhayang dukhayang cheti jiva eva bhimanyate nirlepo pi parang jyotir mohita shambhu Māyā. It is the soul alone that thinks of itself as I am joyous, I am miserable, etc., deluded by Shiva's Māyā, though it is by nature supernal, light, and unattached. Kama krodhastata lobho mado matsyaryamev cha mohaschaityarishaddvargam ahankarakatam vidhu. The sixfold internal enemies, lust, anger, greed, arrogance, jealousy, and delusion, are said to be located in the ego. Sa eva bhadyate jiva svapna jagradavastayo suṣupto tadabhavatscha jiva saṅkaratang gataha. The soul is bound only in the states of waking and dream. Since the ego is absent in suṣupti, deep sleep, there the soul attains the nature of Lord Śaṅkara. Sa eva Māyā saṅsprishta karanang sukha dukkhayo shukto rajata vadvishvang Māyāya drishyate shive. Only the soul conditioned by the internal organ, which is the modification of Māyā, becomes subject to pleasure and pain. The world is perceived in Śiva through Māyā, just as silver is seen in nacre. Tato viveka jnanena nakopyatrasti dukhabhak tato virama dukkhatvang king mudha paritapyase. Viveka jnana, discriminative knowledge, being available to everyone, there is none subject to pain here. Hence, free yourself from sorrow by discriminative knowledge. Why do you grieve in vain? Shri Rama uvacha Mune savamidang tatyang yanmadagre tvayeritam tatapi na jahatyetat prarabdha drishtam mulbanam. Sri Rama said, O sage, all that was said by you to me is true. Even thus, this powerful prarabdha, ripe fruits of action, and adrishta, unseen results of past actions, do not leave me. Matang kuryadyata madhyang nashta vidyam apidvijam tadvat prarabdha bhogopi na jahati vivekinam. Just as liquor produces inebriation, even in a twice-born Brahmana, even though ignorance has been destroyed in him, similarly, the experiences arising out of the prarabdha do not leave even a person of discriminative wisdom. Tata king bahunoktena prarabdhasa chiva smaraha badhate mang divaratram ahankaro pitadrishaha. What is the use of protracted talk? The love I feel is only the prarabdha karma directed by Śiva. It afflicts me day and night. Similar, too, is egotism. Atyanta pidito jiva stula dehang vimunchati tasmad jivaptaye mahyam upaya kriyatang dvija. The soul, exceedingly tormented by egotism, leaves the gross body on death. Hence, O Brahmana, let a way out be taught to me to safeguard my soul.
Namaste. So, poor Rama here is being instructed by sage Agastya that actually this ego, this mind, this intelligence, this sense of I am an individual being is a complete illusion, a fabrication. It's only a thought in the mind, a dream. That's why enlightenment, spiritual enlightenment, is called awakening. Because we're already awake, but we're still dreaming. So, to end the dream, to get rid of the cause of the suffering, means to transcend the ego, to see it for what it really is. Just like the rope and the snake. One goes out in the twilight or the evening and sees what he thinks is a snake and becomes frightened and runs away. But then someone brings a light and it's clear that it's just a rope. So was the snake real? Of course not. Yet, it was experienced as real because it appeared so to the experiencer on account of his imagination. Similarly, what we think of as ourselves and the world and life and so many things happening, cause and effect, activity, agency, and so on, is just a dream. It's a projection, imagination, fabrication. It is not real. It can't be real because it changes. It comes into being, appears to exist for a while, and then it goes away. So what kind of reality is that? Let's go through some of these verses. There are 84 million different species according to the Vedas. Some of them are mobile and some are stationary. The stationary ones, like plants, are souls just like ours, but who have done terrible things in their past lives. And so they're suffering the results of their activity by being born as trees, bushes, plants, grass, vegetables, and so on. But the higher animals, the mobile species, are those with mixed activities in previous lives. Some good, some bad. And when they reach the point where the good and bad balance, they get human life. If they can go beyond that to the point where they have more good than bad activities, in the next life they go higher to the heavenly worlds or to the pure creation, to the worlds of the conditioned Brahman, Brahman with qualities, Saguna Brahman, Shakti Devi. And if they reach pure goodness, Then they go to the worlds of Vishnu or Shiva, where they can get liberated. This is our aim. We want to increase the proportion of good activities so that in the next life we go into a better situation than we have now. Right now we're suffering so many indignities, being in this material world where everything is based on money and power and who you are and what your false identity is, your ego. But we can get out of this. There is a way out. And at the end of this chapter, Rama begs Agastya, please show me the way out of this, hinting that the only way he can see is suicide, death. But that is not really an escape, because the mind continues from one body to the next, and the memories of the activities limit the type of body that one can take. So even suicide is no escape from this world, because you just come back again according to your karma, your prarabdha, or ripened karma, the fruits of the previous life's activities. So the self does not suffer or feel joy. In fact, the self cannot even be really said to be conscious, because it knows no objects other than itself. The self is without qualities, without activities, without knowledge or consciousness, without desires, without bodies, without suffering. So, if we want real liberation, we have to realize the self. And we can do that even in this body through meditation. Nirvikalpa samadhi, nirvana, as the Buddha called it, or nibbana. And the first stage in that is getting rid of or conquering the internal enemies: lust, anger, greed, arrogance, jealousy, and delusion. And we do that by cultivating Vedic knowledge and associating with people who have wisdom, who are well-behaved, who don't give in to these enemies, and by the performance of Vedic sacrifice, especially chanting mantras and making offerings to the deity or to the fire, which amounts to the same thing. That we are connecting our consciousness with God. That connection is called yoga. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yogo yukta prasanatma, that one who is connected in yoga is not suffering. They're feeling joy in their soul. Prasanatma. So this is the real path. And in the next chapter, Agastya is going to give all kinds of remedies to Rama. And we're going to go into these in some depth and give recordings and videos of these different processes so that you can perform them. You can practice them yourself. That way you can conquer over these 6 enemies and get yourself in a joyous condition. So here's something very interesting, that the soul is bound, in other words, conditioned, during waking and sleep, Jagrat and Svapna consciousness. He is not bound in deep sleep, suṣupti, because in deep sleep there are no objects. No objects means no consciousness. No consciousness means no conditioning. Therefore, one attains the state of liberation in sleep, in deep sleep, not during dreams or not during waking, but when all the objects are removed and there's nothing to experience. That's the same as Śiva. Shivoham, Shivoham. Now, people mistakenly think this is ignorance, because when it is attained during sleep, one is covered by ignorance and doesn't know what's going on. But when one attains the same state during meditation, this is nirvikalpa samadhi, where there are no objects. The Buddha calls this themeless meditation. So this is attained by the method of neti. Not this, not this, not this. Whatever comes up in the mind, whether it's the food body, the energy body, the mental body, the intelligence body, or even the bliss body, we reject. We get rid of it. Because this is conditioning our consciousness. And we don't want this conditioning. We don't even want the bliss. That's why even though in the jhanas in Buddhism, one experiences great bliss, the Buddha says, no, you have to transcend that too. You have to get to nothingness, emptiness, to the point where you don't know if you're perceptive or not. Neither perception nor non-perception. This is the 8th jhana. That is just next to nirvana. And nirvana happens when one realizes, I am cognizing that there is nothing, there is emptiness, that I don't know whether I'm perceptive or non-perceptive. Who am I to cognize that? Unlimited space, unlimited consciousness. Aham brahmasmi. I am Brahman. I am the self. I am aware of myself alone. I am aware of being alone. No objects, no senses, no actions, nothing but the self. And this is the ultimate enlightenment. This is the highest state. Because the world is perceived through Māyā, which means that which does not exist. In other words, the ego, the antakarana, the internal organ, which is completely Māyā. It doesn't exist because it has a beginning and an end. And when it ends, even though the beginning may be lost in the ancient past, it does have an end. And when that end is reached, that's enlightenment. That's liberation. That's what we're aiming for. So, because this discriminative knowledge, to know the self and separate it by discrimination from the not self, the self is the perceiver. The not self is that which is perceived. So when one can separate the self from these perceptions, that is wisdom. That is discrimination. That is enlightenment. And since that discriminative knowledge is available to everyone through the Vedas, actually, there is nobody here to suffer. If the body doesn't suffer because it's inert, and the self, Brahman, or God, doesn't suffer, then who is suffering? It can only be the ego, the mind, the false identity, ahankara. And that is illusion. That doesn't really exist. And the proof that it doesn't exist is that it has a beginning and an end. It changes. Who I think I am now is different from who I thought I was when I was a child, and it's going to be different from who I think I am in the next life, and so on. It's always changing. So if it's changing, it's not real. Not absolutely real. The snake is changing. It comes into existence when it is imagined, and it persists only until it is revealed to be a rope. Similarly, the ego, the false identity, the false self, self with a lowercase s, is there only until the true self self with a capital S is revealed by discrimination, knowledge, and meditation. And how to do that meditation is the subject of the next chapter, chapter 3, which we will begin in the next episode. Aum Tat Sat. Aum Shakti Aum. Aum Namah Shivaya.